Hello everyone, this is Krotek giving you a shoutcast and game 1 in a best of 7 series between Root and Prime as I move that a little bit. So here we have Root KiWiKaKi spawning as the Protoss player on the south side of the map. Meanwhile, we have July Zerg spawning on the north side of the map as the pink Zerg. So yeah, July Zerg spawning, July spawning as the pink Zerg. He's not known as July Zerg in StarCraft 2. Okay, so Root KiWiKaKi, hats off and thank you to him for playing game 1, as the rest of the matchups are all Zerg. So they're all Zerg versus Zerg, so KiWiKaKi should have a lot of practice playing Protoss versus Zerg here on Blistering Sands, and we'll see what he does against July. Thank you for playing Protoss, just because instead of having 10 mirror matches of Zerg versus Zerg on Blistering Sands, it is 6 mirror matches of Zerg versus Zerg and 4 Protoss versus Zerg, which makes things a little bit more interesting, and that way I don't think that I've always casted these games beforehand. Now we do see July Zerg pretty much opening up with a standard build, nothing too out of the ordinary here. Going for that 10 Overlord, now getting up a lot of drones. He should be going for, I believe, Extractor into spawning pool. That seems to be his style of play. Already setting up on, what, 170, 180 minerals. He should be doing that in just a moment. I'm just waiting for it, and no, he may be going for a hatchery just because this is now Zerg versus Protoss instead of in a Zerg mirror match. Back over here, we now still see there's that Extractor, there's that spawning pool, so never mind, my premonition was correct. It was just a little bit delayed for some reason, and perhaps he knows his timings better than I do in order to make sure he has enough minerals and is able to continue to mine effectively. One probe now down over here. KiWiKaKi should travel back up that ramp and pretty much see what he expects to see at this point. Oh, out comes a drone now, and he will see that there is a spawning pool coming into play and that Extractor, and in comes the hatchery now. So KiWiKaKi going back upstairs to see if there is a spawning pool, sees the spawning pool, now goes back downstairs and sees the hatchery that just wasn't there a moment ago, and that probably just annoys him that he wasn't able to pylon block or probe block that one hatchery. Back here, we now see the standard front door coming in from KiWiKaKi. That KiWiKaKi front doors, or KiWiKaKi's front door, will allow him to place one Zealot there and then have it hold position, and then perhaps get some sentries and some stalkers on this side of the ramp, not allowing any of those Zerglings to be able to run up. We also are going to get the Cybernetics Core. Most likely will start that Warp Gate research and be chrono boosted in just a moment. No, not being chrono boosted, as instead saving up the chrono boost for the Nexus in order to get a very strong economy going. We do see a probe now hiding over here at the gold mineral patch. So that may be for a proxy pylon, or it could even be for a proxy Stargate, which would be a pretty interesting development. Normally, I see proxy Stargates in this location here, able to charge up off of these destructible rocks, opening the back door for gateway units and a proxy pylon, but we'll see what's happening as a Zergling now going to just simply run up that ramp, and now July Zerg has a very, very strong insight of what's going on across the map. Production-wise, we now see Stalkers and more gateways still being warped in, 3 gates now being warped in, so KiWiKaKi may be going for a standard 4-gate. And a 4-gate would be pretty interesting at this stage in the game, as I do not believe there are a lot of army units coming in from July. July doesn't have that many army units, and now the Stalker trying to shoot down this Overlord. The Overlord trying to fly away. It is still within range. May just get beyond range in just a second. Oh, there it goes. Down goes the Overlord, splattering itself into this crevice below. We do see now one probe perhaps trying to set up an expansion in just a moment. Yes, it will be setting up an expansion. July Zerg is currently supply locked at 32 over 28, unable to build anything as he is upside down on food. Overlord's now being positioned across the map, making sure to keep track of any decent drops. And now, is he still power droning? No, he is no longer power droning, and finally going for some actual army units. So 16 Zerglings will be coming out of here in just a moment. The Queens are already in play. We do see one creep tumor that is starting to slowly spread across the map, enabling a very, very strong creep highway. Zerglings were trying to get within range. I believe he did see the expansion. Yes, the expansion has been spotted, and now some pylons are now being warped in. No probe sitting over here any longer. Zerglings still sitting outside this front door. Will the Zerglings really be able to do anything? And that One cactus is making things look very, very interesting on the map. Anyway, Zerglings now trying to back off over here, perhaps try to deal some damage onto this back door. The Zerglings, however, need to flank and need to get within melee range, and because these are rocks, unable to really deal that much damage. One Stalker up on that high ground, trying to rack up more kills, able to push back all of those Zerglings, as one Stalker here would be able to take down many Zerglings, as the destructible rocks with a natural armor of 3 only take 2 damage per attack. Instead, transitioning into the destructible rocks here, and now July Zerg opting to take up his 3rd base. So we should be seeing a drone making its way down in just a moment. We do see the creep tumors are still being spread. Well, no, that was a new creep tumor from this queen. This creep tumor could probably jump down here as well and continue to spread this creep highway. More overlords now in the air. We do see the movement speed on those roaches that are now being trained, and roaches, a very, very strong unit against gateways. Against gateway units from the Protoss. Roach is strong against gateway units. That's what I meant to say. We are also getting Burrow. So Burrow is going to allow Zerg to play whack-a-mole, or force KiWiKaKi to play whack-a-mole, as you never want to play whack-a-mole against a Zerg player, as those roaches do regenerate a lot of hit points very, very easily. Roach is now trying to perhaps press in, try to deal more damage. The roaches are very, very strong indeed. The pylon has been canceled, as you can see KiWiKaKi realizing that he would not be able to do any serious damage at all, especially with that Roach and Zergling army, and more roaches still being trained up. Army-wise, you can still see, or you still have KiWiKaKi a little bit ahead. And now with the photon cannon and the level 1 weapons upgrade, KiWiKaKi should be able to push out in probably another 3 minutes or so, but the backdoor rocks are once again being pressured, and this is going to be a problem as those roaches are outside of combat range. So the one Stalker on the high ground is able to deal damage to those Zerglings, but those roaches are outside of that combat range and able to fight and deal damage toward those destructible rocks. The Stalkers need to get within position and perhaps get some force fields down, preventing any of those roaches from being able to do a retreat. And there's those force fields, nicely done. KiWiKaKi setting up the trap and laying it down, but there's the burrow. The burrow allowing those roaches to stay right there, and with no robotics facility operational, those roaches are just going to sit there and constantly taunt. A photon cannon could be warped in order to give sight, but now the roaches instead pushing in on that front door and now trying to deal damage to that Stargate. That Stargate needs to get shut down, otherwise those Void Rays are going to deal a lot of damage. But now the roaches coming back over here and now going to start sniping some of the probes in here. So now those roaches dealing damage towards the probes. These roaches will quickly get cleaned up. Probes are already off the mineral line there, but now need to deal with the roaches here at the main base. KiWiKaKi is in trouble. Taking a look at the harvester count, 34 compared to 41 now, as those Stalkers are now being forced to walk in a single file line back up through that narrow passageway here. Roach is getting some damage, now trying to scamper away, and those Stalkers should be able to catch up to those roaches. Actually no, the roaches are actually faster than those Stalkers, so the roaches should be able to, start sniping down this one particular pylon here. That pylon will get shut down, and now we finally have an observer in the air. 39 drones versus 35. Roach is now continually on the move production-wise. Hydra is then nearing completion. More drones now being trained, and in comes more force fields. So nicely done there. Roaches are now trying to fight back. These roaches, however, are burrowed, are taking damage because of those observers. July doesn't seem to realize that the observer is in the air, and now those roaches need to run away very quickly. The sentries do not have enough for that many force fields. No, one sentry has enough, but was unable to get within range to drop down those force fields in time. But in that time, July able to establish his third base now. He is no longer behind in bases. And now will be able to keep up and do a lot of production. You can see that KiWiKaKi is now going for Immortals. He may try to even go for a Stargate once again, but now you can see July Zerg transitioning into Hydralisk now. So Roach Hydra play, and those Hydralisks are going to be very, very effective against those Immortals. Immortals are expensive units. But Hydralisks, because they are not armored units, only take 20 damage per attack instead of 50, and Hydralisks also attack at a very fast attack rate, allowing them to go through the hardened shields of an Immortal very, very easily. Level 1 weapons upgrade has been completed. We are also getting Colossi. So a robotic space, so a Colossi should be coming online in just a moment. A pylon will not get sniped down, as there is also a Void Ray in the air. The Void Ray trying to not even moving and attacking, and now those roaches will be able to escape. I'm pretty sure that you could have manually moved the Void Ray, and the Void Ray would have naturally attacked a unit. So a little bit of a misplay there by KiWiKaKi. Void Rays automatically attack units, I believe. And now back over here, we have a lot of burrowed Zerglings. What will come of that in just a moment? Are we going to get a Baneling's nest and then try to Baneling this whole entire line of probes in just a moment? We do see these Zerglings. Zerglings do not have any armor upgrades. And now in come the Hydras. Hydras are going to be able to snipe down that Void Ray so easily. Down it goes, and now July with a 3,400 mineral army throwing up against a 2,700 should be able to deal a lot of damage very, very easily. Roach is now trying to snipe down some of those pylons. Pylons will force KiWiKaKi to now be upside down on food. Roaches and Hydras are now pushing in, and now in comes Zerglings from behind. So those burrowed Zerglings did show up and is now making it very difficult for both sides to even engage, giving sight also to that high ground. So those Hydras are dealing a lot of damage, especially against those Immortals, as more Hydras are continuing to just push through here. The Colossi are nowhere in sight just quite yet. No, one Colossi is now coming online, trying to deal some damage as well. The extended thermal lance range is not yet completed as more Hydras coming in. KiWiKaKi needs to pull away, but somehow those Hydras are able to shoot at that Colossus even though he did not have sight. I guess it's also because Colossus is considered a tall unit, and if an air unit on high ground attacks, ground units can attack at the Colossus. Now trying to pull back once again, trying to use that and trying to use those just very, very heavy splash damage efficient lasers to cut through that army. And July does a tactical retreat. KiWiKaKi realizing that he lost this game. I'm not sure if he found the third base. No, he never even knew about July Zerg's third base. And just says GG, knowing that he was now down to one base. The main base really, really low on minerals. Economically speaking, July was in such a dominant position. He would be able to transfer many of these drones over here, get decent saturation, and perhaps even try to take this expansion as well. So July Zerg defeating Root KiWiKaKi here on Blistering Sands. I'm going to be updating my Excel spreadsheet in just a moment. If you guys are watching these games out of order, leave now, otherwise you will be spoiled. All right, so here we go. Prime July Zerg taking this game here on Blistering Sands, and now I'm evening up the series to 1-all. How come it won't? Evening up the series to 1-all between Root and Prime. So yeah, great game so far. Oh, let me move that out of the way. Yeah, a great game so far. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I still have a lot more games to cast here. At least about 15, I would guesstimate. Probably around 17 now. But yeah, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this matchup here between July and KiWiKaKi.